For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Last week, this committee advanced my bill, the Protecting Healthcare for All Patients Act, which would ban QALYs and other similar measures in federal healthcare programs. And I'm grateful for the hard work of your team to modify the bill language to resolve all outstanding issues and help us towards a shared goal of removing discrimination in federal health programs. Prohibitions on QALYs and other similar measures already exist in Medicare and the Inflation Reduction Act. Since we already have an additional ban in place for Medicare, do you think it would be appropriate to ban these measures in all other federal care programs like Medicaid?
Madam Chair, can ban what?
QALYs?
Oh, I know that we already have them banned in Medicare. We do
Okay.
not use them,
Thank
and I
you.
believe that there's an effort.
Thank you. I'm going to take back reclaiming my time. I have a lot to get through here. Some questions were raised about equal value life years gained. Do you view the equal value life years gained metric as discriminatory?
Congresswoman, we don't use those kinds of measures. I'm not
Okay,
sure what the
thank you.
reference is to.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Secretary Becerra, can you tell me how many additional resources you provided to, in the words of President Biden's executive order on promoting competition, quote, support existing price transparency initiatives for hospitals, other providers, and insurers?
I think my answer is probably going to go longer than you'd like, but we are engaged in quite a few activities with regard to price transparency, and I could go through a list of them. I could also tell you how we're trying to engage real soon with companies on price negotiation to get the best price for pharmaceutical drugs.
Okay, just reclaiming my time. If it is a priority, why has there only been 2 penalties issued to hospitals in more than 2 years, despite numerous academic third-party studies, your own agency demonstrating significant non-compliance?
Are you talking about the price? I mean, the price transparency laws that are in effect?
Yes.
Madam Chair, as you recognize, that law was only implemented recently by this administration. It's taken a while. The industry has to come forward and come up with plans on how they're going to show their prices.
Okay.
It differs by region.
Okay, thank you, thank you. We're going to go to work on this, and we're going to work on this together, and we're going to get it done. Okay. Wanted to move on to Medicare. The administration recently proposed Medicare Advantage changes that will reduce risk adjustment payments to plans. You've characterized these changes as reducing overall overpayments to plans. Do reductions in these types of Medicare payments constitute a cut to Medicare?
These insurance companies will get more money this year than they got last year. That is not a cut.
Okay, thank you. In my opening statement, I alluded to site-neutral payments, a bipartisan policy that would reduce Medicare spending and what seniors pay by having Medicare pay the same for services regardless of location. If lowering payments to plans isn't a cut, would you characterize such a policy as a cut to Medicare? Site-neutral payments?
Obviously, different regions have different pricing. We have to make sure that what we're doing is doing a fair evaluation of what the cost of a service or product is in healthcare services.
Thank you, appreciate that. We found an area of agreement, I think. President Biden, Speaker McCarthy, and us were agreeing on not cutting Medicare, and it appears that we can agree on some payment reductions that don't constitute cuts. So, would you commit to working with us on bipartisan approaches to address payments that are higher than they might need to be?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Just last week, CDC released 25 nearly documented statistical numerical errors in its COVID-19 data. 80% of these errors exaggerated the severity of the COVID-19 situation. And it's especially concerning that the impact that this had on children. 94% overstated the risk to children. And in less than 50% of these instances did CDC ever fully correct the error. So can you speak to this report on errors and commit to specific actions you'll take to ensure that these are corrected?
The CDC has always attempted to be as transparent as possible. The information, the data they provide is essential for states and our consumers.
Thank you. So we'll work on that together too. And then finally, I just want to close by saying I'm concerned about, on one hand, we hear the administration talking a big picture on curing cancers, fighting Alzheimer's, and yet, unfortunately, we see where the action contradicts that goal. an unprecedented action to restrict Medicare patients from accessing FDA-approved treatments across the board, no matter the promising data or the results are disappointing to millions of patients with Alzheimer's and their families who are looking for hope. And we are going to continue to press you on this, because when we finally get these breakthrough drugs, we must make them available to the people that are depending upon these drugs to give them hope. I'll yield back, Mr.
Thanks. The gentlelady yields back. The chair yields back, and the chair now recognizes the ranking member for 5 minutes for asking questions.